Hey, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and today we're taking a look at the P2000 skins of CSGO to figure out what the best one is. So first off, we have stock. Pretty just basic, very scratched, heavily scratched at the top, but also a bit shiny to make up for it. Yeah, I mean, it's just your run-of-the-mill stock weapons. Nothing crazy, definitely isn't bad. I think it's just your solid D-tier stock skin. Then next up, we have our first, real skin, which is the P2000 Grassland Leaves. It's just a stock P2000 dropped in, like, a pile of mud. It doesn't look particularly great, but it doesn't look completely horrible. I'd say it probably belongs with stock in D tier. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. Definitely not an F tier, but it's not really great for anything. Then we have the P2000 Granite Marbleized, which looks even worse. This looks like it's been, like, resting at the bottom of a swamp for, like, 2 months. I don't know. This looks really bad to me. I would never use this. The dots really kind of ruin whatever they're going for here, and the colors in the background are also awful. This is just a shit skin. I would never use that. Then next up, we have the P2000 Grassland, not the Grassland Leaves, and it's basically just a sand dune. I don't know what this has to do with grass. I can kind of see what it's to do with land, I guess. But yeah, it's just a sand dune pretty much. I guess there's no sand dune for this skin, so they had to rename it or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, very solid recoloring. Really hard to go wrong with this one, but it's not particularly amazing. I'd say it's just a very run-of-the-mill C tier type of skin. Definitely just a solid option if you like this gun. Then we have the P2000 Coach class, which is actually super clean. I think that's still the same stock top, but there's this nice, like, 2 lines here that really add to the kind of divide between the nice plaid handle with some leather on it and the top. It looks super classy, just like it was trying to, and I think it looks kind of great, honestly. I don't know how to explain why too well, because I really can't pinpoint anything that makes this skin good, but I do like it a lot personally. I think it's a solid C tier. Then next up, we have the P2000 Pathfinder. Very solid skin, like all other Pathfinders. It's supposed to be a maze, but it looks a lot more like a chainmail, I think is what it's called. Looks great though. Solid color scheme, great pattern, especially when you look closer at it. I love looking at the little maze on the skin. I think it looks great. It's a very, very solid skin, especially for the P2000. It covers the entire thing. I think it's a solid A tier option. Good color, good pattern, good everything. Then we have the P2000 Panther Camo, which, yeah, it's just like a super dark version of stock. With it technically is a camo, but it's actually so dark that it's pretty hard to actually see that. Would be nicer if it was just like a slate and completely black, I'll be real, but it still definitely isn't horrible with a camo on it. I'd say it's just a solid D tier. It's nothing crazy. It's probably a bit better than stock, though. I'll give it credit for that. Then next up, we have the P2000 Dispatch, which, yeah, it's bright and confusing. The colors don't go together too great. It is really bright, and the pattern is god-awful. Kind of looks like a clown skin almost. I guess if you're going for a clown skin, it's a C tier. It kind of actually has that vibe to it, but otherwise it's definitely like a low D tier. I'm gonna put in C tier though. No, I'll put in D tier. I'm lying to myself. Yeah, it is bright. It's at least noticeably different. And it has a clown aesthetic, I guess, if you like that. But otherwise, this doesn't look great. Then we have the P2000 Red Frag Cam. It's just like a red camo looking skin. Pretty dull, pretty nice like a camo. At least it has a really nice color of red actually, for the base of the weapon. But yeah, it's not horrible, it's not great. Probably just a solid low C tier, if I had to put it somewhere. Then next up, we have the P2000 Pulse. I think I used this one for a while. It looks great. It's like the Pulse for the FAMAS, except green and like turquoise. I don't know colors too well, but I think those are the colors here. Nice colors. Decent design. I always like the fragmenting design of the Pulse, and the colors are great too. I think this is a solid B tier. Definitely a step above C tier at least. Then next up we have Ivory. This one I definitely used for ages. This is like my starting P2000 skin. I think someone gave it to me or something back when I started playing the game. It's just nice. I mean, it's got a very nice solid white handle and a very clean black top. It's not stock, as you can tell there's like no scratches up there. It's just great. It looks really just solid. It's a very basic recolor, but very good color selection. I'd say it's probably a solid A tier up with the Pathfinder. Then next up, we have the P2000 Imperial. I don't think I've ever seen this one in game. And I can kind of see why. It's like a metallic, shiny red, I guess, except not shiny, it's just a metallic red. Has a lot of damage on it, even though it's factory new, and the design up here isn't particularly great. This is basically just like okay-ish red. It's definitely not a solid color red. I'm not a big fan of this specific color red. It's okay. I mean, it's probably a low C tier or something. It's not completely horrible or anything. It's definitely better than stock, but I don't know why. I just don't like this one too much. Then we have the P2000 Oceanic, which is light blue and black. It's got some interesting pattern to it, I guess. I can't tell what most of it is, but I think it's supposed to be fish and stuff, just based off the name. It's I don't know. It's got almost like a Hawaiian t-shirt type pattern and coloring to it. It's okay. I mean, it's just run of the mill. Probably worse than the Sandy in my eyes. It's just not very clean, and the pattern's not too noticeable. But the colors are solid. So it's honestly enough to get in seats here for me. Then we have the P2000 Turf, which I don't think I ever used, but I've seen this one a bit. It's kind of like a mix of the Ivory and the Pulse, except it takes like the worst parts of all that. It has a really bad color green first off. I don't think the Pulse had this anywhere. It has like a weird camo handle, but it has a nice white top and white bottom, which add a lot to the skin, I feel. I don't know, it's kind of hard to put it somewhere. I don't like this color green. It reminds me of like throwing up, which is not a pleasant thing to be reminded of, I would say. But I could see why someone might like this, because it's nice and bright, and the patterns do go well, like the colors and patterns go well together, but they're just not patterns or colors that I like, so for me it's a D tier, not an F tier though, it's definitely at least a decent skin. Then we have the P2000 Urban Hazard. Does not have the cleanliness of the 5.7 Urban Hazard. This looks like someone literally dumped it in like 50 separate bottles of bleach or something. I would never really use this one. It's super dull. It has all the makings of the really nice part of the Urban Hazard, but it's just way too dull for its own good. Definitely an F tier for me. Then next up we have the P2000 Gnarled, which I've never heard of or seen. Not too sure why though. It's pretty interesting. I have no clue what this little monster thing coming out the back is, but it does have a really nice, like, vibrant tip. Reminds me of the P2000 Splash in a way, or P250, sorry, P250 Splash, where that orange chip, except instead of orange is a different color, which I think is pink. I don't know what color this is. But yeah, it's got a different color, but still a pretty bright one there, and then it has a nice circle in the back that also draws your attention. I mean, the actual design of the skin is really hard to see. I can't really tell what this is, but there's just the nice bright tip of a pistol always looks pretty solid in my eyes. I'd say this is pretty decent skin. Probably a low B tier for me, honestly. Then next up, we have the P2000 Lifted Spirits, which is really fresh. Yeah, it's nice. It's got a very basic design, but very nice one. Just a very, clean bottom and a nice, like, brighter top. Got, like, that, like, old Indian fabric type of look to it, if you know what I mean. And then the design's really cool. You got, like, all the spirits kind of, like, floating out of the forest, which I think is a really cool design, but you're never really looking at this when you see it in-game. Like, you'll maybe glance at this and be like, okay, it's a white and, like, stock-looking skin. But if you do look at it, the design's amazing. The problem is, like, your eyes aren't initially drawn to that. But it's okay. It's definitely pretty solid. Probably a high C tier, low B tier type of situation. It's a pretty decent P2000 skin. Then we have the P2000 Scorpion, which has a scorpion that you never see because it's, like, covered by your hand, and then the top is interesting color with a weird little wavy design. This one's used a lot in trade-ups, I think. Or no, this is the result of the trade-up. If you don't get the Deagle Blaze, you get, like, this. Which kind of sucks, I'll be honest. But, yeah. It's got some interesting color to it, but it really looks an awful lot like stock for the most part in a lot of the parts that matter. So I'd say it's just a solid D tier, probably below stock, honestly, my personal opinion. Or maybe it's above. I think I'm being a bit harsh on it just because of the trade up blick factor. Anyway, next up we have the P2000 Amber Fade. I think this is a really notorious trade-up skin if I'm not wrong, or it's the result yet again. I always forget which. I think this is used in trade-ups though. And I'm glad it is. I mean, it's okay. It's like I actually like the really copper shiny back part of it, but the green in front looks god awful, bro. It's like the worst color of green, and it like fades into it and ruins the part of the skin that you actually see. Like for a pistol, you normally look at first you look at the tip, then you look at the back corner here, and when you look at the tip, it looks awful. And then you look at the back corner, actually it looks pretty cool. But the problem is the first impression is really bad for the skin. I'd say it's probably just probably really low D tier. I can't really justify putting an F tier with those two. Those two in F tier are really, really bad. Let me the P2000 Space Race. I looked at this one before because I was doing some trade ups in the train collection. It doesn't look good. I think it used the art from the pop-up or whatever, but it's like impossible to actually see anything on the skin. The colors are a big mess, the pattern's a big mess. I would just never really use this thing unless there's a really cool pattern or something, but to my knowledge, it's not really a good one, so I'd say it's just an F tier. Then we have the P2000 handgun, which is nice and bright. It has that really important, like, bright tip I was talking about earlier. It even has the word boom up there, right where your eyes are kind of drawn to, and then you can see the nice little, it's like literally a handgun, right? That's the joke. It's a handgun because it's a hand on the gun and the hand is shooting like a gun. You get the whole point. Great colors, great design, really solid skin, and kind of funny almost. I'd say it's probably solid, probably the best thing we've seen so far actually. Although I do also like the ivory a lot just for its simplicity, so it's kind of hard for me to move things there. Let me the P2000 Woodsman, which is just your it's actually a decent looking camo skin for people like camo skins. I don't like camo skins though, so that's my full opinion there. Just low D tier because I don't like camos. That's how I do every video. Then we have the P2000 Obsidian, which is just beautiful, man. Got a great like flowing little design on it, really nice bright back, and the front doesn't look awful like in the Amber Fade. The skin flows really well and has really great colors, really great design. It's like kind of the magma from Volcano kind of turning into that, you know, obsidian. It looks great. I'm gonna end up using this one unless there's a better skin I'm forgetting about. This just looks beautiful to me. Then we have the P2000 Acid Etched. The only reason I know about this skin is there's like a small chance you get like a shamrock on the back here, like a really small chance, like 5 patterns or something. Otherwise, the skin looks kind of shit. It's super like dusty and almost dull. The design makes no real sense, even though the colors in it are somewhat nice. Yeah, it's like, it's weird because the skin looks like it should be so much better than it is, but it ends up kind of sucking. For me, it's an F tier, honestly. Unless you have that shamrock pattern, then it's like a C tier or something, but that's kind of a rare thing. Then we have the P2000 Ocean Foam, which, yeah, this is a notorious trade-up skin. People buy these with like the rarest stickers, scrape them off, and use in trade-ups. And I can see why. This thing is awful. Has like a PNG of like the world's worst looking designed ocean on a pretty much stock P2000. The colors up here are pretty bad. It's shiny for no real reason. It just ends up looking awful. I would never use this as a play skin. This is literally only for trade-ups. And I'm glad that this happens to be a popular trade-up skin because, yeah. Then we have the P2000 Cortacera. Very solid blue base with like a kind of glass pane, like from a church on the top. Decent colors, okay design. Probably just honest to God, just solid C tier. I'm gonna put up the Lifted Spirits or whatever into B tier and just move this under the sand dune where I personally would put it, or the grassland or whatever you call it. You know what I meant. Let me get the P2000 Imperial Dragon, which, yeah, looks kind of cool. Reminds me of the like Hot Snake or something it's called for the Mac 10. Super scaly design with a dragon front and center in the part where you always look. Like I was mentioning, right, this front part is where you look and you see the dragon face there. And the colors on this are really nice. It's just a really nice color of like orange and red. Yeah, it's a very solid, probably B tier skin. I still actually like the pink tip of that other P2000 a bit more. So I'll give that one a bit more credit. And before we go to the only red P2000, I definitely skipped. I definitely skipped some skins. I was literally looking at them and I forgot to click on them. So first off, we have the P2000 Silver. It's literally a silver P2000, super shiny, super silver, super clean. I absolutely love the look of this one. Very, very solid A tier for me. Possibly even S tier considering the other skins. I'm gonna put it as a low S tier, but know that I like the Obsidian a lot more. Yeah. Then next up we have the P2000 Chainmail, which is a really common trade-up skin to work your way up to the Dragon lore. Honest to God, the Pathfinder does a better job of looking like Chainmail than this skin. I would never use this over the Pathfinder unless it's like absurdly cheaper. It's also shiny, which actually kind of detracts. Even though Chainmail's supposed to be shiny, it draws your attention away from the main design and makes you focus on specific parts of the weapon, which is normally not the idea with Chainmail. You're supposed to look at kind of the whole picture. So for me, it's just an F tier because it's outclassed so hard by something that's currently a lot cheaper and probably will always be. Then our final skin, and the only red P2000, is the P2000 Fire Elemental. He's got a little fire spirit on a absolutely stunning blue background. Looks like almost like a galaxy, but with a really, really nice color blue. The fire elemental itself is like an okay design, but what I really do like is this background. It's beautiful colors. It's highlighting the fire spear. You can see it's like lighter around the spear and darker here. The colors of blue all across the thing are beautiful. These little dots and stuff kind of add to that galaxy feeling. It almost looks like a fire spirit kind of flying through the galaxy or whatever. I actually really like this one a lot. Probably, I'm glad this is the one red skin because it probably is the best V2000 skin, in my opinion, by a pretty good margin. So yeah, that's it for the P2000 skins. Make sure you comment below if you disagree with any of the takes I had here, because I know some of the stuff I said people might disagree with quite a lot. Either way, hope you guys enjoy looking at these skins as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.